An NHL legend came out and praised Juraj Slafkovsky's recent development and performances. We'll be talking about that, plus the recent games that Slafkovsky has put in and what his great performances could mean moving forward. Finally, we have an awesome Cole Caufield stat, so you won't want to miss anything we have to say on this edition of Habs Digest. Hello, bonjour, ahoy, and welcome to today's news edition of Habs Digest. I'm your host, Josh Gosse, alongside my co-host, Jesse Poirier. And quick reminder, you guys, like the video right now. I asked you last video, you guys did it like crazy, so do it again. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We love your support. First topic today, Jesse. An NHL legend, Vincent Lecavalier, currently a staff member for the Montreal Canadiens, had some great praise for Juraj Slafkovsky. Take a look at this. He said, I watched Slafkovsky in Europe with Kent being Kent Hughes, of course, Habs GM, for 4 or 5 games. He looked very good on video too, and at the Olympics and other tournaments, but when I watched him in Europe, I saw he had leadership. He was communicating a lot. That's stuff I can't see on video, so it was worth the trip. He goes on to say it's not easy to play at 18 years old. Lecavalier also, reminder, played his rookie season at the age of 18. He said Lecavalier had 13 or so goals in his first year, and not an easy league, but he's doing well. He's big, strong, skates, great shot, and all the Habs staff are watching his games, trying to help him adapt. He says you're seeing that he's starting to drive the net, create chances, use his frame, which is what we want to see. Jesse, these thoughts that Vincent Lecavalier have really reflect what we've seen so far from Slafkovsky. How far do you think he's come, even in just the past month or so, with his development adjusting to this North American ice?
I think that he's come such a long way, and it's such great words to hear from Vincent Lecavalier, somebody who's a winner, who really knows the game. And it's just so great to hear from Vincent, period, because, you know, we know that he's working hard for this team, but you sometimes imagine, okay, what is he doing? I kind of picture him in the lab, cooking up master plans, schemes, you know, to get the Habs to the top. But it's so cool to hear a little bit of the behind the scenes of what he's actually doing to help the team, which is so important. He's evaluating prospects. He's got a relationship with Kent Hughes, you know, where they're going to see players play abroad. You know, this is an invaluable resource to have. This is somebody who really just understands the fundamentals of the game, an amazing person to really have in your corner. So even though he is behind the scenes, he's really doing a lot to help this team. And, you know, somebody like Vincent Lecavalier, you know, being a captain himself, he knows leadership skills. And so if he's seeing this in Slaf, and this is even something that I personally didn't really knew. I know kind of happy-go-lucky, and I could see that translating just be such a great room guy. But do we have, you know, dare I say, you know, I know Suzuki is very young, but, you know, do we have possible captain material in Juraj Slafkovsky? I think he has the skill. I think he has the talent. And apparently he has the leadership, too, to possibly make that happen.
Yeah, I mean, it could be interesting. I think an alternate captain at the very least, if he has these good leadership skills. I'm just going to say I don't think Suzuki's ever losing the C from the time he steps on the ice now to ever. And I know you're not saying that either, but captain material? Yeah, potentially. I mean, we're hearing about his leadership here, especially with the Slovakian team and in Europe when he's playing in Finland. Communication is a really underrated aspect of hockey, and it's, again, not something you see a ton on the broadcast. You'll hear players' voices. You heard it a lot more during the COVID-stricken season when there was silence in the crowd. You could hear the players talking to each other. But to see that Slafkovsky is one of the leaders on the ice, and sort of not a leader in the locker room, maybe, but like he's communicating with everyone, joking around with teammates. His English interviews, he's always making jokes, and he seems supremely confident. We'll be getting into that in a minute, actually. But no, you're right, Jesse. Vincent Lecavalier, a guy who is a big player himself, I think maybe sees a bit of, you know, Slafkovsky, or a bit of himself in Slafkovsky, which is awesome to see. And you're right too, I think his official title is special advisory role to the general manager or something like that. He mentions how he's been gone scouting players and talking to Kent Hughes, Martin St. Louis, things like that. But he's been doing a good job so far, and it's really awesome to see the great praise he has for Slafkovsky. And we're going to kind of transition into the second topic because we're still going to talk about Slaf. This is sort of a Slaf episode. You know, it's a Slafzilla episode because Slaf spoke out about his play. We're going to let this animation play out, but we want to focus on him because he's been the guy, along with Jake Evans, really, who have been standing out the last couple games. But take a look at some Slaf quotes from last night. Jesse, I just want to get your thoughts on this as soon as I finish reading him. Slaf on a shift in the second period where he had 2 shot blocks and a hit. He said, it's just part of the game. I don't think it's anything special. Everyone has to do that if you want to win. And he also said that after those last 2 games of strong play, I'm just happy it's going in a good way. I need a little more luck offensively, but it'll come at some point. As long as we win, I don't really care. Isn't that, like, super mature from our boy?
It is, and that's what it takes for us to win. And, I've heard other notable Montreal Canadian commenters saying things like, oh, Jonathan Drouin, and, not to put shade on him, but that, oh, he's competitive and that he does want to play. But to be honest, I completely disagree. I think the proof is in the pudding. Just because you arrive at this level doesn't mean you're competitive. You can get at these levels, just like as Slafkovsky, he hasn't even really had to get at his full potential to be as good as he has. You need to do effort, and that effort is palpable. It's not something that's hidden, right? If you're giving effort on the ice, it's like people are going to guess that and be thinking, oh, does he have effort? Effort is self-evident. And I think that that's one of the most important traits for a young hockey club, to instill good habits and qualities that we want for this team, because this is how you win. Make no mistake about him, for have such a mature attitude about it. It just, I think, people are really high on Shane Wright, and I get that he had a really great World Jays. But to be honest, I wouldn't change a thing. Be patient. This guy has the makings. He has a lot of those intangibles that I think we're missing from some of those other players at the top of the draft.
Excellently put. Those intangibles are great. His camaraderie with his teammates is amazing. He's a happy, hilarious guy. I especially liked your point about effort. And he really mirrored, if you guys watching saw the PK Subban tribute last night, one of the big things that PK said is, if you leave it all on the ice, these fans will love you forever. It's evident with PK. Juraj Slafkovsky actually said the exact same thing after the game when asked about the Habs' performance. And he's shown that he's been leaving his effort all on the ice in recent games, and we've been loving him for it. Exactly that. He shows he loves being here. He wants to get going. I mean, last night the players played with a level of energy we haven't seen in a while, Jesse. And I think it was well put by Kirby Dach after the game. He was asked, where did this energy come from? He said, as a team, they decided to come into this game and just go at it. They knew Carey Price and PK Subban were going to be in attendance. The crowd was going to be rallied behind them. And the players went out there and they proved themselves. They jumped on Nashville in the first period. That speaks to the whole team culture. Kirby Dach, Juraj Slafkovsky himself with the effort. It was amazing. And guess what happened? Slafkovsky, because of his amazing effort and great chances, had a season high in ice time with 16 and a half minutes. I mean, that's got to bode well for the rest of the season going forward, right?
It absolutely does, because it all starts with those efforts and building good habits, and as we see, it's often a byproduct of that. As we know with our life and many things, it's just getting those small habits. You develop that and then it comes. Rome wasn't built in one day, and being a great NHL hockey player, it's not something that happens overnight. But as long as you're really willing to put in the effort and it not just be talk, and we see it on the ice as we have, and that's so great to hear from Dach too, because he's another one of our young leaders. So if this is the type of attitude that he has, if he can possibly have some leadership, abilities as well to rally the troops as well and just kind of get everybody on the same page, for me, this is just amazing, because it's exactly what I want to hear from this team.
Yeah, it's part of the reason why in last night's video I called it a perfect win, because everything went right. The players played with great energy, impact, and the quotes after the game, you couldn't get any better. So super happy with last night, and I think it's maybe the one of the significant big steps in towards the future of the Montreal Canadiens. Speaking of first steps into the future, our final quick topic at the end of the video, Cole Caufield's on historic pace. I know, not a shocker, it's Cole Caufield. He's been scoring like crazy. He had 2 power play goals from the same spot last night. He's been going nuts, but check this out. Here's a tweet from Marc Dumont. He said, for those who survived the early 2000s, it's worth noting that Cole Caufield is currently on pace for a 49-goal season. Saku Koivu and Oleg Petrov tied for the team lead in scoring back in 2000-2001 with 47 points. The times they are a-changin'. Jesse, only 6 players in Montreal Canadiens history have ever scored 50 goals in a season, and Caufield is on pace to maybe break that. With the Habs power play bouncing back, do you think he has a legit shot at still hitting that 50-goal mark now that we're over halfway through the season?
He will score over 50 goals this year, and this is a position that you and I have had since the beginning of the year, even in preseason, but this isn't something that you can take for granted, right? Because at the same time, a storied franchise like the Montreal Canadiens, you can count on both hands how many players, even less, that they've had that have scored 50 goals. So it is a huge accomplishment, but this guy has tons of skill. He's an electric player. He's going to do nothing but get better. And I wouldn't even be surprised to see him score 60 in the future, because he's just getting started. He can't score 50 this year. He can absolutely do it. And I think the sky's the limit with this guy. Just the way the NHL is trending. everything else, it's just becoming Cole's game here.
It really is. Scoring's upticking every single year for the NHL, and if Cole Caufield can score 50 goals, I know this Habs team, he has an amazing line mate pair in Nick Suzuki and Kirby Dach to set him up, but, I mean, score 50 goals on this Montreal team would be a feat. A very, very impressive feat. So if he manages to do it, I don't see why 60 goals is out of the realm of possibility. This kid is dynamite, and I'm so hyped to see how the rest of the season goes into next season. But that'll do it for this news edition of Habs Digest. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, subscribe. You guys have been supporting us like crazy. You really liked our videos last night and our new short form videos. So we'll be keeping all those things coming to you. I'm Josh Goss for my co-host Jesse Poirier. We'll catch you in the next one.